All right, hi there. Thanks for being here, Astrid and Evelyn. It's good that you two are here. So I'm going to start the class with you both. All right. I'd rather wait for you two so that we can start everything together and we are on the same pace. So we have to start a new unit. Remember that last week we worked with unit 2. It was half the course, right? We took the meter or the satisfaction survey. So it means that today we have to start with the next part, which is the third unit. You know that every unit, sorry, we got a different file in which we practice and we write examples and so on. So the file is over there. All right, let me change this one. This is for unit 3. Okay, that's the first thing. The file is in the chat. And the second thing is that we have to keep working. I don't know if you were able, Astrid, I think you told me that and you showed me, right, that your username was expired. I don't know if you received any answers from administration or management, or if they tell you or told you anything about it, Astrid.
Good afternoon, teacher. Yes, the girl gave me a solution, and I made my exam yesterday.
Perfect. So is everything okay? Are you missing something, Astrid, or were you able to complete everything?
I didn't complete the assignments.
Good. So I'm going to check then which assignments you were not able to complete, and I'm going to reassign those ones for you. As it was a technical problem, it was not something that you did or didn't do, then I'm going to reassign it. Okay, Astrid? So you're going to have this week these assignments for Unit 3, plus the assignments that you were not able to complete because of that problem. All right?
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Good. No, you're welcome. Thanks for letting me know also because it's important so that I can reassign. Then let's do it. As always, I do this in front of you so that you see that I'm assigning everything. So first, the assignments, right? So all the assignments as we usually do. All right, yes, there you go. And it starts now and it's until Friday, right? As every week. If it starts on Monday, it's going to be until Friday. You know that one. And you have 2 attempts as always, plus the model. All right, so that's it regarding the assignments. Now I'm also going to assign the quiz, right? Because I think it's better doing that now. Sometimes, right, in the class, or sometimes even I can forget. So to avoid that, I prefer doing this now. So the quiz, but remember that a quiz is only going to be available starting Friday, right? So the starting date, that's going to be Friday, and you know that it's going to be after the class, so 7:45. Okay, so that's the starting date, and you know that you have the weekend to do it, right? So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday so that you can complete the third quiz. Okay, we're talking about the third quiz over here. You got 50 minutes as always, and that's it. All right, there you go. Now I'm just going to take a look at this. No, actually, I'm going to do that later because I'm going to see some scores. I think it's better doing that privately. But I'm going to do it now after class, Astrid, just in case, because I have another class after this one. If you don't see the assignments, all right, on Pearson, the second week assignments, please let me know, all right, and remind me. But I think I'm not going to forget, but just in case, okay, just text me on the group. It can be on the WhatsApp group, and I'm going to reassign it, all right, just in case. But that's it. I don't know if you have any questions about Pearson, Astrid, and Evelyn. Let me know, please. No? All right. So let's keep going. All right. That's everything related to Pearson. I think it's clear. You just need to keep working on that one. It's the usual thing you do, right? There's not a thing that is new over here. So I'm going to go then to the lesson, the new lesson that we got. We have to start again the next part. So we worked with everything I'm going to show you now. Okay, stative verbs. If you have questions about that, you can let me know. Models of request, so and such, gerunds, models of possibility, and reflexive pronouns, right? We finished with that one. Now we're going to reinforce one more time past. I'm sure that you covered this before. I think you did it with me even. You were with me in previous courses. You covered this one before. And I'm sure that you covered that again in the following courses. And now you're doing it again. All right, why? Because it's important to be sure that past is clear for you. Before working on this presentation, Astrid and Evelyn, we're going to work on a short practice. Okay, first a speaking practice, and then it's going to be a writing practice. Okay, let's start with the speaking part. Here you have past continuous, but actually it's not only going to be past continuous, it's going to be like a mix, all right, between past continuous and simple past, as you see here. So I'm going to show you that. You don't need to use that structure, Astrid and Evelyn, to answer, okay? You don't have to use this structure. Only use any ideas in past, and I'm going to let you know if it's correct or incorrect, all right? So the first is going to be for you, please, Astrid. 2 questions, all right? First is related to a near past. So tell me, please, tell me at least 4, okay? Let's say that, no, 3. Tell me at least, please, 3 activities that you did on the last week, Astrid, okay? During the last week. What do you say? What 3 activities you did the last week?
Last week, okay, I went, or I come back at university uh, to do some works, maybe. Then I cooked some dishes, and then I was studying. I was studying for an exam.
Great, great. Okay, only a couple of questions, Astrid. Let's repeat, please, one more time the idea of the action, or what activities were you doing when you came back to the university, or when you came back from the university? It was not that clear. What activities did you mention there?
Some works, because I don't know how to say. Well, it was specifically methods, or no sé cómo decir, pero I was working in laboratory.
Great. Yes, I think it's better if you mention that one, right? Because works is going to be too general, and I think also works with S is not that common. So yes, you can say to do some practice, right? Some lab practice, or to practice in the lab, right? Or the laboratory, right? So that's going to be better, all right? To do some practice in a laboratory or in a lab. All right, good, that one. Great. Now, the second question is related to the last idea. You mentioned the last idea in the past continuous, and I think it's correct because as I can understand, it works better in that way. But why? Why did you decide, okay, why did you decide, Astrid, to use past continuous in the last idea and simple past in the first 2 ideas? I just want to follow the logic.
Because I had an important exam, and I had to study maybe every day. So I used that past continuous.
Great. I think it's a great explanation, right? Because we saw also that it's possible to use the past continuous in repetitive actions, right? But only during a specific period of time, right? So I think it's great, Astrid. Thank you. Good. Great. So let's go to the, actually, let's go with you, Evelyn. The same idea. I have one more question, but it's going to be later on. Evelyn, the same for you, but it's going to be only during the weekend, okay? Tell me, please, 3 activities, Evelyn, that you did last weekend, okay? 3 activities that you did last weekend, Evelyn. What do you say?
Good afternoon, teacher.
Hello.
The last week I worked in the morning. Also, I was paying in paying taxes and in the alcaldía. I don't know how say alcaldía.
Okay, it's like mayoralty.
Mayoralty.
Good.
And I celebrate with my family in this weekend.
Good. Now let's organize only 2 ideas. I think the first one is working very good, Evelyn. I don't have observations. For the second one, for example, Astrid used I was studying because she was studying not only one day, but she was studying 1, 2, 3 days, for example. Okay, let's say that. Okay, she was studying many days. But in your case, when you say paying taxes, right, or paying something, actually that's something that you do very punctually. All right, so it's not recommendable that you use that in the continuous tense unless you want to say that something happened. Okay, for example, I was paying when I saw my friend and I had a conversation with her. Okay, but as anything happened, okay, as nothing happened over there, as you were paying what you were paying, then it's better if you use the simple past. Okay, only the simple past. So how can you tell me one more time, please, the second idea, Evelyn, using only simple past and not the past continuous?
Okay. I went on the mayoralty for paying taxes.
Okay, good. I went to the mayoralty, right, to pay taxes, correct? Or you can say I paid taxes, right? You can be in the same way. Good, great. And in the last one, okay, only one short observation in the last one. The verb was not clear to be in past. Try to repeat, please, the last idea, Evelyn.
I celebrate with my family.
Good, perfect, right? So a celebrate ends in T, right? So base verb, celebrate. As that's the base verb, you need to make noticeable that it's past. So when it finishes in T, you have to make the ED more noticeable, okay? Like et. So it's going to be, I celebrated, okay? I celebrated with my family. Good, exactly, good. So one more time, please, the complete idea.
Okay, I celebrated with my family.
Perfect. All right. And instead of this week, as it was past, you can say that weekend or last weekend. Okay, one of those two. Just that one, Evelyn. I don't know if you have any questions about those observations.
No, thank you, teacher.
Okay, no, thank you. Good. So that's past. All right. I got one more question. And after this question, you're going to write something, okay? Because we're not covering the lesson yet, because I'm sure that you know this lesson, or at least most of it, all right? So it's going to be just reviewing. So in order to practice, it's important that you can speak and write, okay? Now, the next is going to be like more opened, and it's going to be like a distant past. And it's going to be for you, Astrid, okay? Very shortly. It doesn't have to be like the long version of that story, Astrid, but tell me, please, one experience that you remember from your childhood. Okay, any experience that you remember. It can be from your childhood, or it can be from the time in which you were a teenager. Okay, any of those two, please, Astrid. Okay, only one experience from your childhood or from the time in which you were a teenager. So what do you say? What experience do you remember? It can be a good one or a bad one. It depends on you.
Teacher, no, no. Oh, maybe when I was a teenager, when I was studying my high school here, I I lived here alone for 2 years maybe, because I am not from here exactly. I am from other other city, other village, and well, I lived alone. Well, I remember that I used to spend my weekends with my classmates at home, or maybe I used to travel with my cousins to other city, maybe for the only for weekends, and uh, sometimes my classmates and I cooked some dishes, and then we used to watch some movies.
Great, great. I think that's great, Astrid. Okay, only two things. One is going to be a short observation, and the other one a question to expand that one. All right. Remember that if you say just one city instead of other, it's going to be just another, right? So you can say I'm from another city, right? Instead
Okay.
of other. Okay, just that one. And then yes, the first explanation. I know you were giving a present reference, but remember that you can also say that in the past continuous, right? I was living, because you don't live in that city anymore, right? In which you were living when you were a teenager, right?
Uh, I live now. I live in the same city.
Okay, okay, good. Then it's okay. Then my recommendation is going to be even different. Instead of the past continuous, you can use the present perfect. Okay, so you can put emphasis on the idea that you have been living, okay, you have, or I have been living, right, in this city since I was a teenager, right, and I started with these activities and so on, right, just to complement that one. I don't know if you have questions about that, Astrid.
Okay, teacher. In this case, if I understand, I could use the present perfect. For example, I has been living.
Correct. I have been living. Why? Because it's something that started when you were a teenager, and it's still true, right? And it's still happening now in the present, Astrid. Okay, so when that's the case, when it started in the past and it continues in the present, the best option is the present continuous. Okay, the present perfect continuous. I have been living in this city since I was a teenager. All right, you can say that. Or also you can use the present perfect, no problem. And you can say, I have lived in this city, right, since I was a teenager. Both cases are correct, but the best one, if you want to put emphasis on the idea that it has been happening that way, you can use the present perfect continuous. All right,
Okay, teacher. Thank
good.
you.
Great. No, you're welcome. And only one more question, please, Astrid. This is a short one related to that one. And how was that experience, right? Living by yourself? Was it easy when it started? I imagine that it was hard at the beginning, or was it something that was easy for you and you didn't notice living by yourself?
Yeah, it was maybe difficult at the beginning, but then I I was good and normal living alone.
Perfect. Thank you, Astrid. That's enough. Good. I'm going with you now, Evelyn. The same idea, Evelyn. Okay, the same for you. Tell me, please, only one experience, okay? It can be a short experience, Evelyn, that you remember from your childhood or from the time in which you were a teenager. Okay, you choose which one, Evelyn. So what do you say? What experience can you tell me? Again, it can be a good one or a bad one, but it has to be in past, of course. What do you say?
When I was a child, I broke my bone on my wrist. Wrist.
Correct. Yes, your wrist. Correct. What were you doing? Tell me more, please.
Wire. 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 My cousins and I were playing. In a las manchas.
Okay.
This is,
one more time. What were you playing, Evelyn?
a las manchas. This is the name they play.
All right. I don't know that play. Can you? Oh, sorry, that game. I don't know that game actually. It's new to me. So how is that game? Can you explain a little bit? What is that about?
Well, my cousins and I were playing this game called Las Manchas. But I failed, and I broke my wrist, and I went the hospital. At hospital.
Yes, as you're saying went, it's better if you say you went to the hospital, right? With to the hospital. Okay. All right. And why? What do you do in that game, Evelyn? Do you run in the game? Do you, I don't know, right? Do you want to touch each other? What do you do in that game? Do you run? Do you jump?
Yes, run and touch. Every child have touched every child, and the other child had run to also to run.
Is it like this? So I mean, one you can say that one, right? One child is supposed to touch a different child, right? But the other child has to escape from the other one, right? Is that the logic, or what is the
Yes.
logic over there? It has to
Yes.
stay, right?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Great. Very good. Okay. Only one question over there then, Evelyn. Remember also when you say what is the plural of child, because you were talking about a group.
Children.
Children, right? Good. So the other children do the same, right? So one child tries to touch, or it like follows, right, another one, and the other children do the same, right? So you are running constantly, and one of them is trying to escape, right? Or all of them are trying to escape from one another, right? Good. Only one question over there. And what happened? You broke your wrist, right? You went to the hospital, and how long were you in the hospital? How many days or how many hours?
One day in the night until the morning the next day. And I was with yeso. How do you say yeso or
There are many ways to call that. Sometimes they call it like a holder. It's like un tipo sostén, all right? A holder, arm holder. I'm going to look for different ways, okay? Perhaps there is a different translation for that one, Evelyn, but the one that I know, it's an arm holder, okay? Arm holder.
Okay. Holder. I was holder 3 months. Yeah, 3.
Well, that's a lot. Okay, Good, perfect. Thanks for letting me know that, Evelyn. Okay, only one last observation there. Remember, you're not going to say in the night, you're going to say only at night.
At
Okay, and
night.
you can say this expression, Evelyn. I spend, okay, a whole night at the hospital. Or even here, you can say in the hospital if you are a patient. Okay, so it's in the chat, Evelyn, that's what you can say. All right. I spent the whole night at a hospital. All right. Until the following morning. Right. So I think that's great, Evelyn. Very good. I don't know if you have any questions about these short details or recommendations.
No, thank you, teacher.
Okay. No, thanks for letting me know that one and telling that story, Evelyn. Thank you. Good. So that's it. Okay. That's the first part. Again, this is not something new. One more time. That's why I rather work in this way. Now, we're going to go to the second part. Okay, that was the first part, speaking, practicing a little bit of past. But now you're going to do the same, please, Astrid and Evelyn. But I want to see how you write your ideas. Okay, so you know how this works. Again, the link is in the chat, right? You can see it. I'm sending that one more time, just in case. And please, you're going to write a paragraph. Okay, it can be a paragraph or more, but as I did before, I think I work in that way with you, Astrid and Evelyn. I'm going to give you 5 or 6 minutes. Okay, I'm going to give you 6 minutes. And in those 6 minutes, Astrid and Evelyn, you're going to tell me one more time experience that you remember. Okay, but this time, please tell me a different story. Okay, a different experience. Or again, it can be a real experience. Or you can tell me a story, or write a makeup story, or you can tell me someone else's story or someone else's experience. Okay, so you can say, for example, Evelyn and Astrid. Yes, I remember that my friend told me, right, about the time when she was a teenager, right? And she traveled to Europe and she said that she did that and that and that and blah, 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 right? So it can be your story, it can be your experience, Astrid and Evelyn, or it can be someone else's story or someone else's, story or experience. All right? Let me know, please, if you have any questions. Again, you're going to have 5 to 6 minutes, and you're going to write paragraphs, okay? Not sentences, okay? Paragraphs. It can be 1 minimum. If you can write 2, that's going to be great. So what do you say? Do you have any questions about it? Astrid and Evelyn, let me know, please. No? All right. So as you're doing that, please, I'm going to do the following. I think I got it here. Yes, it must be here. So in your document, I'm going to paste this. These are some rules that are very important that you know, girls. If you want more details about these rules, let me know, okay? But shortly, you cannot do this in English, right? He's tall and she's short. That's incorrect, okay? With a comma. You cannot use comma to divide to complete ideas. You need to use fanboys, right? For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. And this is correct, okay? He is tall and she is short, okay? Correct and incorrect. He is tall, comma, she is short, okay? So pay attention to that one. Also, you can make that correct when you use semicolon. He is tall, semicolon, she is short. Or it can be he is tall, semicolon, also, comma, she is short. Or the same, exactly the same, but with period. He's tall, period. She is short, period. Or he's tall, period, also, comma, she is short. Okay, so those are ways to make that correct. Okay, this is correct, and this is correct. Also this, when you want to give clarification, you can use colon. Okay, this is colon, the 2 periods. Okay, colon. He was always thinking about it. Colon, what? About what? Being the best in the class. Or instead of colon, you can use M dash. Okay, this is the M dash. The same. He was thinking, oh, sorry, he was always thinking about it. Dash being the best in his class. Or you can use that as parentheses. Okay, I believe, comma, entirely, comma, that she is the most beautiful girl. Or I believe, dash, entirely, dash, that she is the most beautiful girl. And finally, okay, I finish with this one, girls. You have these connectors to start your story or your experience. Firstly, to commence, to start with, all right? Then secondly, you can say this in English, right? In Spanish, you don't say segundamente, right? But in English, you say firstly, secondly, thirdly, all right? Then you say next, then you say after that, then you say afterward, then you say however for contrast, no, nonetheless for contrast or confession. Finally, to finish your ideas, briefly to give me a summary, sorry, and to sum up, also to give me a summary. And here you have the rules. Firstly, comma, complete idea, period. To commence, comma, complete idea, period. Okay, it's the same for all of them. So those are rules. Everything is there for you. All right. So that's only a tool so that you can improve your writing skills. If you have questions about that, again, I'm not going to evaluate this in the sense you're not going to have a score, right? But again, of course, it's going to help you improve. And if you want to take the TOEFL or any international test, it's a good idea that you memorize these rules. All right. So what do you say? Any questions about this before working on the writing practice? Let me know, please. Okay, let's do it then, please, girls. Again, let's set directly 6 minutes. All right, it's going to be 6 minutes and you can write about anything you want, but please, it has to be in past. Okay, that's the only thing that you need to follow up, that it has to be in past. Okay, you can start, please. Let's start, girls. And I'm going to start the timer. Okay, so we're going to check what you got, and we're going to work with the lesson itself. Okay, and it's going to be just a compliment because, again, it's something that you can use when you're talking about past ideas. It's something that you can use when you're telling stories, when you're complimenting some things, right? So again, everything you wrote is going to be correct. Let's start with you, please, Astrid. Okay, let's read everything you got, and I'm going to give you some feedback.
Okay, teacher. My sister and I were in the same elementary school, so we used to spend all day together. Specifically, when the classes finish, we used to go to the pool for 2 hours. Just teacher.
Good. Let's only with the speaking, please. What did you want to say in the last part? We lived for?
Okay. I don't know how to say, but maybe it will be that we live 1 hour away from the school, and so we there was a car that take us take to the students at school. So when we left the pool, we maybe we left the pool 2 hours later, and the car wasn't there more. So we used to talk until our house.
Great, great. Yes, and the idea that you connected, yes, 4 is not going to be there, right? So as you said, right, we lived like 1 hour or 2 hours away, right, from the school, right, away from and the place. So good. Only one observation, right, as you're talking about past and you said the bus, instead of take, right, it should be took. But if you don't want to say, because took is going to be too specific, so perhaps you can also use the used to expression, right? And there was a bus that used to take us, right, from our house to the school, right, or to the pool, right? And in the traject or in the right in the meantime, we used to spend the time talking. Right, so I think that that's good. Just those little details, Astrid. Now, in terms of the writing, okay, try to please, as I'm going to be checking Evelyn's, Astrid, try to finish that last idea, okay? But before that, let me give you just those little details. Here, remember, this is a complete idea, right? My sister and I were in the same elementary school, okay? Or you can also say that you attended the same university school, okay? So we're in or attended. Okay, it's an option. All right, I'm going to give you options. Then, comma, why? Because even though it's still we, all right, we need a comma to make sure that it's clear that this is the end of that idea, and this is consequence with so. Okay, so we were, we used to spend all day together. Good. Especially here, all right, that's going to be the first thing when classes, especially when, and now here, this is my first recommendation. In order not to use those many commas, or specifically over there, you can use this dash, all right, so that you can avoid the extra usage of commas, and you can try to implement this new one, all right, that it's going to be for clarification, especially when, and here, actually, instead of that one, I will use, I think, this, all right, especially when classes were finished. Okay, so when classes finished, we used to go to the pool for 2 hours. All right, here you're giving me another complete idea. So yes, this can be a little bit different. Okay, but let's leave it in that way. Okay, especially when we were, when classes finished, and okay, and we used to go to the pool for 2 hours. All right, that's more or less going to be the idea. In that way, this is going to be the specialty case, okay, especially when class is finished, comma, and we used to go to the pool for 2 hours. All right, just that one. Now you finish, please, giving me the idea. You can summarize everything you've told me in perhaps 1 or 2 paragraphs, Astrid, and I'm going to check it once again. All right, I don't know if you have any questions about these suggestions, Astrid.
No, teacher. I'm going to write
Okay.
more.
Okay, good. Thank you. Now, let's go with you, Evelyn. Let's read what you got. And again, you're going to have some extra time to try to finish your ideas. Read what you wrote, please, Evelyn.
When I was a teenager, I had a dog called Mateo. It loved to play with dirty weather. One day it destroyed my task in when
Okay, good. What else can you tell me? Just speaking, Evelyn, how can you finish or complement that story?
no, I didn't compliment my task. I didn't have to present the next day, but I didn't do after that I I didn't want to play with my dog because I was bored, angry. So
Good, exactly. I think it's good. Okay, just one thing, and you're going to finish, please, Evelyn. You can say one day it destroyed, right? And again, I think grammatically speaking, it's perfect that you use it. Okay, it's perfect that you use it. But remember also that when you're talking about pets, your dog or your cat, sometimes even you can use the pronouns he or she. All right, that only if you want. But if you want to be like grammatically like very correct, what you're doing is great. Okay, it loved to play with dirty water. One day it destroyed my task. All right, but again, if you feel more comfortable, you can call your dog or your pet by the name, by the pronoun, okay, of the sex, I mean. So you can say he loved to play with dirty water. One day he destroyed my task. All right, but that again, that's only optional. Okay, but when you are very formal, you can write in this way, it. Okay, because it's the most correct way. All right, so that's good. Now, the second thing, try to connect the second idea like this, because you were telling me something about presenting your task, right? You can simply say here, one day it destroyed my task, comma, and I couldn't present it, right, the following day, period, right? Because of this, you can say that, okay, por esta razón, because of this, because of what happened, because of this, because of my dog destroying my task, comma, I was angry or I was mad at him. All right, it means that you were upset, right? There are many ways to say that you were angry, that you were upset, right, that you were irritated, but mainly angry, upset, and that you were like, I don't know if you said boring or you use another adjective, Evelyn. What other adjective did you want to use?
bored.
Okay, yes, you can say I was bored, right? I was bored and I was really or very angry, right, with my dog. So with that idea, please, Evelyn, I'm going to go to check now once again Astrid's last part. And in the meantime, please finish writing these ideas and I'm going to check everything together. All right? Because in terms of writing, I think it's working very good. When, comma, I had a dog, then period. Okay, so here you can do the following. Just this one can be in the meantime, Evelyn, that you can put the period inside the quotation mark. All right, usually you do that with let's say with direct or indirect speech, but usually Mateo is not like something you need to use with quotation marks. Okay, but if you use quotation marks, the period is going to be inside. All right, then complete idea, period, one day, comma, it destroyed my task. So far is good. Finish writing, please, the last part, Evelyn, and I'm going to go back to you in a few minutes. All right?
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Good. Let's do it, please. Oh, thank you. And now let's finish with you, please, one more time, Astrid. Let's read what you got now, what you were able to add.
Okay. We live 1 hour away from the school, and there was a bus that we took to arrive at home. But when we left the pool, the bus was no longer there, so we had to walk home.
Good. Okay. Only one detail. As I was telling you, and this is one question that I got for you. When you say we took to arrive home, okay, there was a bus that we took. Are you talking only about one time that you took that bus, or was that something that was a habit in the past and you always took that bus, and you can say that you used to take that bus to get home? So what do you say? It was only one time or a couple of times, or it was a past routine or a past habit?
It was every day.
Right? So because of that, again, you can change that took, right? Because when I heard that you said take, I only heard take, okay? I didn't hear the used to. But if you use that one, that's going to be the correct one here, okay? And that we used to take to arrive home. Just that one, all right? But I think everything else is going to work good. Okay, let me check one more time. So we leave the way from the, and there was good with a comma, a bus that we used to take, right? You can say to arrive, or even when you want to use another word, you can use to get, right? To get home. That's optional, of course. Okay, to get only home without that. But when we left the pool, right? And here you can specify a asterisk that it was only one time. And again, well, this is another rule, Astrid. I didn't tell you about that one. But if you have will leave, comma, one comma, then complete idea, pum, 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 then again, comma, then but, then comma, right? And so on. So grammatically speaking is not like incorrect, but in punctuation rules, they are going to tell you the following, Astrid. If you have commas before and you have commas after one fanboy, okay, this is a coordinated conjunction. Instead of a comma, okay, only in that case, not every time. Only when you have too many commas, you can use the semicolon, okay, instead of the comma, to make the difference between the previous part and the next part, and that the commas are not going to be too repetitive. All right. Or another option, this is the last one, is that instead of but, you can say however and comma. All right, that's the second option. If you say however, you have to use semicolon or you have to use period. Okay, so get home, semicolon, however, comma, when we left the pool, comma, the bus was no longer there. So, comma, right over there, and so you need another comma. So yes, my recommendation would be even to use a period here. Okay, so it will be something like this. Let me do that just in case for you. You can do this, comma, however. Okay, however, comma, when we left the pool, the bus was no longer there, sorry, comma, so we had to walk home. Okay, so as you can say, sometimes you can use a lot of commas, and to prevent that and to make this more like accessible for the reader, you can place periods, semicolons, and choose different words to make that even better connected. Okay, that's my only suggestion there, Astrid. I don't know if you have any questions about that to finish with you.
It's clear, teachers. I don't have questions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Astrid. Good. And finish that last part, please, Evelyn. All right, and we check.
Yes.
Okay, let's read it then, please. Let's read it from one day, starting there.
Yeah. Okay. One day it destroyed my task, and I couldn't present my task next day. After that, I didn't want to play with him. I was mad.
Good, perfect. Now let's check those details. All right. So, in general, is great. Now remember, the one rule we have to remember that when you have a model, okay, after a model, could, can, would, will, you always use only the base form. Okay, you cannot use the infinitive. This is the infinitive. Okay, so only base form. It means present. Okay, I couldn't present, I couldn't hand in. Okay, this is another way, Evelyn and Astrid. You can say hand in whenever you want to say present something.
Okay.
Okay, so you can say, I couldn't hand in my task. Now here, remember that you say, I will travel next week, okay, or tomorrow. But remember that you only use the when it's a very specific next day or next week. In this case, as you're telling me a past story, Evelyn, it's a very specific time. All right, so here you're going to say the next day, or even more than that one, the following day. All right, that one, like el día siguiente, right, the following day. And again, here you say the because you mentioned a very specific day. That was the following day to the day that you're talking about. All right. And finally, after that, this is an introductory phrase, Evelyn. So if after that is not the subject, right? After that is not doing the action. No. Who's doing the action? I, right? So after that is only an introduction, and you need a comma for introductions. Okay. After that, comma, I didn't want to play with him. All right. And here, instead of period, I think it's not bad, it's good, but you can try to connect that with because. Okay, because I was mad. All right. In that way, you connect the ideas without punctuations, and you follow, and so you show the reason why you didn't want to play with him. Okay, that one. Those are my recommendations, Evelyn. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
No, teacher. It's great.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. And again, anytime you have questions, Evelyn or Astrid, please, you can let me know. Again, it's very important that you know these rules little by little. Okay, it's not part of the course, but I'm giving you this because you have to be prepared, right? As you are learning more, as you are working with more courses, you need to know when to use commas, when to use semicolon, when to avoid using commas, when to use also dashes, colons, periods, the fanboys, and also there are other subordinate conjunctions, right? For example, because, and you don't use comma with because, right? You need to know those rules. But that's it. Now that you practice with me, now we're going to go to the lesson, because again, the lesson is just going to show you details that you need to reinforce, right? To be sure that you're writing correctly. First, you need to remember the past continuous, right? I, he, she, it with was, and the present participle, that is the verb plus ing, and the complement. Okay, so she was playing in the park. He was playing in the park. I was playing in the park, right? Easy. But when it's plural or the second person, you use were, right? We were playing in the park. You were playing in the park. They were playing in the park, right? Easy, just to remember that one. But this is what we're going to start reading, please. And this is for you, please, Astrid. We use the past continuous.
For something which happened before and after another action. The children were doing their homework when I got home. And compare, the children did their homework when after I got home.
Great. Now, this is important. If you use the present or the past continuous, as I told you, girls, Astrid and Evelyn, is for context, for what's happening, right? It's not for a specific action. You don't say, yesterday I was eating, period, right? No, you can say simply, yesterday I ate pasta. Okay, you're not going to say, yesterday I was eating pasta. No, because you don't need. You're only going to say, I was eating pasta if you're going to tell me a story, or if you're going to tell me that something happened, or if you're going to tell me another event, right? So 2 options. You tell me, yesterday I ate pasta, period. Enough. Okay, don't say, yesterday I was eating. But you can say, yesterday I was eating pasta when I saw you on the street, right? And you told me that you were working. What happened? All right, so that's a context. Okay, use the past continuous for context, or as you mentioned before, when the action is repeated, right? And I remember that those weeks I was studying a lot, right? I was studying every day because I had an important test, right? So for repeated actions for a specific period of time, or for context, okay? Don't use the past continuous just to give one idea, because that's not going to be correct. All right, and again, the last example, don't say something like, yesterday I was passing classes. Okay, good, but why? Why do you say I was passing classes if you don't tell me something else? You simply say, yesterday I passed classes, or I had classes. All right, and that's more than enough. So I'm going to ask you just two questions, well, actually one question, all right, to each of you. For example, if I ask you this, Astrid, what were you doing? Okay, what were you doing when, or actually in a different way, yes, what were you doing when it was 9 p.m. yesterday? What were you doing when it was 9 p.m. yesterday, Astrid?
I was having a dinner.
Good, it's not bad, but remember, if you say a dinner, it's going to be incorrect. Only dinner. I was having dinner.
I
All
was
right.
having dinner.
Good. No, tell me the whole idea, please, including the part with when.
Okay. Yesterday at 9 p.m. I was having dinner.
Great. And that's it. That's more than enough. Thank you, Astrid. Good. Now, for you, Evelyn, okay, I'm going to say something. Actually, okay, something related to this class. What were you doing, Evelyn, when this class started? Okay, today's class. What were you doing when the class started, Evelyn?
I was watching videos when when it started the class.
But in the opposite, right? Because if you say that the start of the class is going to be incorrect, that's a Spanish, right? In English, it's going to be only when the class started.
When the class started.
Great, perfect. Thank you, Evelyn. That's correct. That's very good. I was watching some videos when the class started. Okay, good. Very good. Okay, so easy, right? And again, this is the way in which you use the past continuous: context, explanation, or repetition. All right, don't use it by itself unless the context is clear, or I can understand that you're talking about a repetitive action. Okay, but remember, not a routine, only a temporary repetitive action. And now this is a little bit different. This is for you, please, Evelyn.
We to talk about actions that were happening at the same time. I was driving while she was talking on the phone. He was looking at his textbook while they were taking a test.
Perfect. Very good. This one is going to be taken, right? The only observation. They were taking a test.
Taking a test.
Good. Thank you, Evelyn. Great. So the same as the previous one, but here you have two actions that are happening or that were happening at the same time. This is another way in which you can use the past continuous. You don't simply say, I drove when she took or she talked, right, on the phone. No. If they were happening at the same time, while, and continuous forms. All right, so actually, I'm going to try to, no, I'm going to ask you something. This is for you, Astrid, also. So what were you doing? Okay, what were you doing while I was checking, all right, Evelyn's examples? Okay, so Astrid, that's for you. Astrid, what were you doing while I was checking or taking a look at Evelyn's examples?
I was reading the PDF.
Great, perfect. Thank you, Astrid. That's correct. Now, just to finish, tell me please the two ideas using this structure.
Okay. While you were checking the Evelyn examples, I was reading the PDF.
Perfect. And don't forget, as you're talking about possession, you're going to say Evelyn's, right, with S. Evelyn's examples or Evelyn's paragraph could be. Okay, just that one. Thank you, Astrid. Good. Evelyn, the same with you. Okay, the same with you, Evelyn. Evelyn, what were you doing while I was checking or giving recommendations to Astrid? Okay, checking Astrid's example or giving recommendations to Astrid. So what were you doing?
I was listening while she was giving recommendations.
Okay, good. Or you can say while you were giving recommendations or while she was reading her paragraph, right? Good. Perfect. Thank you, Evelyn. So that's it. Okay, that's the next part. Easy, right? If you have questions, again, you can stop me at any time. And these are the two elements. Good. We have the time. That's perfect. These are the two formulas. All right. And you're going to try to change the order because you have two options, right? If you give me ideas with when, usually you're going to use the past continuous when simple past, all right? Or you can say when simple past, comma, past continuous, okay? That's very important. You know that rule as I saw in the paragraph that you wrote, so it's great that you know that one. And the second idea, sorry, is with while, right? But in this case, you use with both cases the same tense, right? So here you have past continuous when simple past and simple past comma and past continuous. All right, and here you have two times the past continuous. So past continuous, while past continuous, and while past continuous, comma past continuous. All right, so again, it's repetitive, but just in case, you know these formulas, but to be sure that everything is clear. And here, simple past, right? Past continuous when simple past or when simple past, comma, past continuous. Okay, so just to reinforce and to finish these ideas, Astrid and Evelyn, this time I'm going to start with you, Evelyn. All right, give me please 2 examples, Evelyn. One example using this, okay, the second formula over here, okay, when simple past, comma, past continuous, and one example following the second formula over here, while past continuous, comma, past continuous. All right, let's do it, please, Evelyn. Only speaking. What 2 examples can you give
Um, when I worked, my mom was cooking.
Good. In that one, just one thing, it can be with a simple past, Evelyn, it's perfect, all right? But just to follow the formula, remember, if you use while in this formula, it's not that is only correct like this, okay? Try to use past continuous in both ideas, please. So how could it be? The same example, but use past continuous before a while and after a while.
The same example?
Yes, let's try the same example and try to use the second order. While, past continuous, comma, past continuous. But the same example, please, with the tense changed.
Okay, while I was working, my mom was cooking.
Very good. Exactly. All right. So that idea, it's a little bit different, right? When you say when I worked, it's just a little bit different. It implies that they were happening at the same time, right? And that's very important. Good. One more, please, Evelyn. Now following this formula, when, simple past, comma, past continuous.
Okay. Other example or?
Yes, another example, please, a different example.
Okay. Okay. When I paid taxes, my father was driving the car.
Okay, good. Only there, let's analyze only one thing, all right, Evelyn? I think that the example is good, but remember that usually what happens is that this action in the past continuous, Evelyn, is the action that was happening. And usually you use this structure when something interrupts the action or when something happens after that action. Okay, for example, you can say, I was driving when the traffic light changed. Okay, so you stopped. Okay, so first you were driving and then the traffic light changed. Okay, so there has to be that interaction. The past continuous has to be the first action in time. Okay, not here, right? Here the past continuous is in the second part, but it's still the first part. Okay, and the simple past has to be something that happened after or as you were doing that action. Okay, so with that idea, Evelyn, how can you change your example to make this work in this way?
Okay. When I paced the English class, my dog was playing with my foot. Sorry.
All right. Also, but remembering that one, all right, try to make it in this way, and you're going to see how different it can be. Try to use the first case. Remember again that the when, okay, when you use when, Evelyn, is the interrupting action. So you were telling, if you tell me that sentence, Evelyn, is that your dog was playing with your food when you passed, okay, classes. So it's not bad, all right, but it's like the idea that first your dog was playing with your food, and then you passed classes. Okay, that's more or less the idea, if that's the logic. So one more change. What else can you change to tell me that you were doing something when something happened? Okay, one more try, please. Only one more.
Other example or same example?
You can use the same if you want, but again, try to accommodate the ideas in the sense that the first action is obvious, and the second action, Evelyn, if you use this structure, the second action has to be punctual, because you're telling me that your dog playing with your if it's one foot or your feet in general is long, and in the meantime you pass classes. Okay, but if you analyze, to pass classes in that context is not something punctual. It's also something that you're doing now, right, Evelyn? For example, you can say, I was passing classes while my dog was playing with my foot or with my feet, right? So in that case, it would be better to use the second idea, okay, while. But here, try to look for something or reaccommodate your ideas, Evelyn, in which the first idea is past continuous, what's happening, and the second idea interrupts or happens after the first idea.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you say?
My dog was beating my shoes when I was past English class.
Okay, good. And that's with past continuous, right? And the last try, all right? The last try in that one is correct. But how can you use simple past? What can happen? Okay, what can happen when your dog is doing that? Okay, my dog was beating my shoes when, what punctual action can you tell me there? Something that happened like that, immediately, that interrupted the action of your dog.
Wait, okay. My dog was beating my shoes when I passed English class.
But remember, that's not interrupting the action, right? Remember, if you say I passed, you're telling me my dog was beating when I passed, okay, after that one. But remember here again, all right, try to tell me something that stops, okay? Usually it stops or it appears, and usually the second action, Evelyn, because you pass classes for 1 hour and 40 minutes, right? That's a lot. You can say this one perhaps, when I started passing classes, or when I went to a different room, all right? But the idea is that it has to be something very punctual that interrupts the action, all right, in that case. So let's try with that one. My dog was beating my shoes when I had to start, all right, when my class, and I stopped him. All right, so something happens, precisely the starting, okay, not the whole class, only the starting of the class, and that you stopped your dog. Okay, so let's repeat that idea, please. My dog was beating or biting my shoes when I had to start my class, and I stopped him. Okay, let's repeat that one, please.
Okay, my dog was beating when my dog was beating my shoes when I have started my class.
When I had to start my class. Okay, good. Thank you very much. All right, if you're going to have questions, you're going to let me know. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, good. Now, again, it can be a little bit, this one can be a little bit confusing sometimes, all right? But remember, this has to be an action that is or was happening when this action happened. Okay, for example, I was playing when the phone rang. Okay, so you were doing something and something started, okay, or something happened, or simply, right? I was driving the car. I was driving the car when, I don't know, right? Something that happens. It can be when an accident happened, okay? Or when the accident happened, or when it stopped suddenly, or when it broke down, okay? So you were driving when it broke down, right? So you had to stop because your car needs repairing. All right. So again, usually interrupts the action and usually something that happens afterwards. All right. Be careful with that one. Now, here you can do what as you were doing, Evelyn, that you can use when with the past continuous. Okay. There's no problem. As I told you, grammatically speaking is correct. But if we want to use the previous ideas, we have to follow that. Okay. Let's read this one with you, please, Astrid. When?
You can use went all the time if the continuous action and the punctual action are obvious. I broke my leg when I was practicing in the park. I was studying for the test when you called me.
Also, the last part, please. What does it say about the simple past and the past continuous?
Simple past interrupts, past continues the ongoing action.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Astrid. Okay, so just to finish that idea, remember, the simple past interrupts. Okay, so you were doing something when something happened. Okay, but remember, it has to be something punctual. To pass classes can be 2 hours or 3 hours, right? So that's not an interruption. Usually, that's something that happens after another punctual action. All right. Or for example, you cannot say this. Imagine this example. I ran, and I'm going to write it for you actually. All right. And you're going to try to tell me why this is not going to be correct or not that logic. For example, I ran when, right? That one. For example, this is incorrect, right? And this is what I'm talking about. Why? Because some actions are punctual. They happened, okay? And they interrupt something. But some actions can take longer. For example, passing classes, for example, watching a movie, right? You cannot say, I was doing something when I watched a movie, all right? Why? Because watching a movie is not interrupting your action, right? It's not possible, okay? So here, how can you explain? This is for you, Astrid. How can you explain why this idea is incorrect and how can you correct it?
It is incorrect because the first action will be running, and the second and the other or the consequence will be break your leg, for example. Or the correct form will be I was running when I broke my leg.
Exactly. Good. And one extra question, actually, to finish. What if I say I was running, okay, I was running when I was breaking my leg? Is that also correct or does it sound weird? What do you say? Is the action of breaking your leg a long action or is the action of breaking your leg a specific action that happens quickly?
It happens quickly, and so we should use the past tense.
Correct. Exactly. In this case, if you say I was breaking my leg, is as if you were telling me that you're breaking your leg in 2 hours, right? And you're breaking your leg and you keep going, right? But no, usually when you break your leg, you break your leg, right? You were running and your leg breaks, right? And that's it, okay? But that that idea can happen in a long period of time or in a short period of time in this case. So good. I was running when, right? I was breaking is incorrect. I broke. Okay, but try to look for this specific action, girls, all right? Not long actions, all right? And here, of course, I was running. Why? Because if you tell me a long action, that's not a good interrupter, right? But you can say when I started my classes, and that's the starting point, okay? It's not the whole classes, but it's the starting point that interrupted. Or when your mom calls you, right? Hey, Evelyn, come, right? Short, and it interrupts. Or Astrid, come, short, and it interrupts. Or when the phone rings, right? And the sound interrupts. It's going to be some seconds, but it interrupts. All right, so look for short options, okay? Short actions, definite actions, punctual actions after when, okay? Not long actions. Now, with that said, let's keep going, please. And the next part, we already read that one, is this one over here. And with this and one more, we finish, because this is, again, just to clarify. And this is for you, please, Evelyn.
For something that happened before and after a specific time. It was 8 o'clock. I was writing a letter. Compared at 8 o'clock, I wrote started writing some letters.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. So the idea here, right? If you want to mention that you were doing something at a specific period of time, and you did this, right? I asked you before. I was reading when it was 9 o'clock, all right? Or at 9 o'clock, I was reading. And this is something that Astrid used, right? So let's read this with you, please, Astrid. This is the repetitive action.
Read, teacher?
Yes, please, let's read it.
Again? The same? Oh.
Yes. No, this one is new, Astrid. We didn't read this one yet.
Okay. I was practicing every day, 3 times a day. They were meeting secretly after school, and they were always quarreling.
Correct. And quarreling is fighting or arguing, right? Thank you, Astrid. So today we're going to finish with an example for this, all right? What Evelyn read was this one, right? It was 8 o'clock. I was writing a letter, okay? Something that happens or that happened at a specific time in the past. But here is the example that you told me, right? When I asked you about it, Astrid, and you told me, for example, and at that time I was studying for my test. And I imagined that you were studying every day during that week, or for 2 weeks, or for 3 weeks, right? But it's not a routine because it's only temporary. Okay, it's only temporary. That's why you can use the past continuous. So you're going to tell me 2 things, please. Okay, 2 things that were repeated again and again during a specific period of time. Okay, and here you have the examples. I was practicing every day, 3 times a day, but only for 1 month or only for 2 months. Okay, that's it. So it was not a routine for your whole life. They were meeting secretly after school. So every time after school, for weeks, for months, they were meeting secretly. And finally, they were always quarreling, right? They were always fighting. Every time they had an encounter, they fought, right? And they used to fight. That's why you can use this one. So with that logic, to finish, please, girls, I'm going to start with you, Astrid. What 2 ideas can you give me? Something real, please, Astrid, in the past that you were doing frequently for a specific or in a specific period of time?
Okay. I was taking classes that weekend, and I was cooking. I was cooking. I just
Sorry, let's complement the last one, please, Astrid. The first one, I think it's okay. Let's just try to add something. Repeat one more time the first one, please, Astrid.
I was taking classes at weekend.
Okay.
And
Good. In that one, instead of taking, because if you say take, it means that you are registering in different classes every weekend. All right. It's better if you say, I was passing classes. All right. So you can say, I was passing classes every weekend, right? During how much time? During how much time you were doing that action, Astrid? Weeks, months, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months?
for 1 month.
Good, great. I was passing classes on the weekends during 1 month. Perfect. So I need that specification with number 2, actually, because if not, it sounds weird. Because usually, right, we can expect that you and we, right, we cook every day for ourselves because we need to eat, right? But perhaps you always go to a restaurant, and just because of certain situations, you are cooking because usually you don't have the time, right? But what is the context to say that you were cooking, Astrid?
I was cooking every day after my classes.
Very good. And for how long also did it happen? For how many months? For how many weeks?
For 3 months, for 3 weeks.
Good. And remember, if you're still doing that, then don't use the past continuous. Okay, if you still cook after class, don't use the past continuous. There you can use the present perfect continuous. Right? I have been cooking for myself for many years. But if it's something that you don't do anymore and you only buy food now, or you go to a restaurant, then it's a good idea to use this one. Okay, just for clarification and to finish. I don't know if you have any questions about this, Astrid.
No, teacher.
Okay, thank you. Good. It was great. The same with you, please, Evelyn. What 2 actions, and remember, they have to be temporary, okay? They don't have to be past routines, okay? They have to be only repetitive actions in the past that happened during a specific period of time, weeks, months, okay? At most, I think months. So, what were you doing during a specific period of time in the past, Evelyn? And how often?
In the pandemic period, I was learning to cook.
Good, good. You have the context over there. Now, I will only recommend one change. Instead of in the pandemic period, it's better if you say during. During the pandemic, I was learning to, and you say the rest of the idea. Okay, good, good, perfect. What else? One more, please, Emily.
During university life, my boyfriend and I were meeting secretly after class.
Okay, yes, it's correct. In that one, Evelyn, just to finish, all right. If university sometimes takes 5 years.
Yes.
Okay, so if it's 5 years, I think this is not the best option. Why? Because this is for shorter. I think months. Okay, if it's months, good. But if it's 5 years, that's a lot. It's better if you say used to. Okay, so you can say during university, my boyfriend and I used to meet secretly after it. Okay, why? Because actually it's longer, and even though it's 5 years, 5 years is a lot, all right? More than just months. So let's try one more, please. But or you can use the same, please, Evelyn. But instead of university life, try to tell me for something shorter, that it's only months.
Can be my boyfriend and I were meeting secretly 3 times a week in the specifically subject.
Okay, in the last part, I couldn't get very much, Evelyn. For how long? For how long did it happen? That's going to be more important. For how long did that action happen? If it's only for months, it's going to be okay. Okay, if it's more than months, if it's years, it's better to use another expression.
A semester, 1 semester.
Good, exactly. So you can say, right, my boyfriend and I were meeting secretly, I don't know, right, behind the school, behind the university for 1 semester, right? And the next semester was in a different place. I don't know, right? But the idea is that if it changes, and if it's only 1 semester, that it's 6 months at least, it's going to be okay. In that one, with that, it's going to be correct, Evelyn. I don't know if you have any questions and if you notice the difference between I was practicing and I used to practice. Okay, I was practicing is for a shorter period of time, and I used to practice is for a bigger habit that takes more years.
Okay.
All right. So what do you say? Any questions or comments to finish today?
No, thank you, teacher.
Great. No, you're welcome, Evelyn, and Astrid as well. So let's finish here, please. I'm sending the survey as always. Let's complete that one. And thanks for being here one more time. I'll see you tomorrow in our conversation. All right. Thanks again. Have a good night and see you, girls. Take care.
See you tomorrow, teacher.
Bye bye. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, teacher.
Bye bye.